Good morning, beautiful people. Marie Alessi here. Today, I would love to unpack a question with you that I have faced many, many times in my life, and that I know that a lot of you are facing, at least since coming into this group or even before. But I want to give this one ahead. Actually, I want to give this one away up front. I truly feel that there is this really strong sense of belonging in our group, and I just wanted to say thank you. Before I get started with my personal journey around belonging, I really just want to say thank you for those who have sent me so many messages over the last 3 years of feeling that they belong, feeling that they finally found a group where somebody hears them and somebody understands them, and that means the world to me. I want to start at the very, very beginning of this question: where do I belong? For me, that is a question, as I said in my intro, that I have asked myself very many years actually, and it started off in my childhood. I have mentioned this a couple of times in various lives or stories that I have shared about myself. I am the only one born into a family of five, so I've got four siblings that are all older than me and that are adopted, and three of them actually came into the family before me. And interestingly enough, my eldest brother came into the family last after me. He was 11 when he was adopted. So from a very early age, I asked myself the question, where do I belong? Because I always felt I was the odd one out in the family, despite being the only one born into the family, which you would think gives me um, that right that I was born with to belong in this family. Yet I didn't feel like that. I always felt like I was the only one that didn't belong because I was the only one not adopted. I always felt like the odd one out, like I didn't belong. And that was quite an intense feeling for me to grow up with, because I, quite frankly, very often fell into victimhood. For a long time in my life, I spent my life in victimhood, in a poor me, and why did this all happen to me? I don't live my life from that state anymore. If anything, if ever I ask myself the question why, then I ask, why did this happen for me? So I really have changed my mindset. I have changed my questioning. And when it comes to the question, where do I belong? I often felt that there was not a circle, like a really strong circle that I belonged to, because we moved around a lot in my childhood. I moved 21 times in my entire life, and most of these moves happened in my childhood. So naturally, there was this constant being rerouted, my roots ripped out, starting somewhere fresh, finding new friends, new school, new teachers, new homes. And that word home has become something to me that was just a word for a house that we lived in. I didn't really realize what it meant to have a home till we created that. And we, I mean Rob and I really felt very, very differently around this word home, because it's something that we have created. And then again, of course, I asked myself that question throughout my entire school career, because there was always groups of people, groups of friends that have grown up with each other, that had known each other from day dot, and or their moms had even been friends before born. So there was a lot of I was surrounded by a strong sense of belonging from a lot of people, yet I never felt that. I always felt like I didn't quite belong, or I was accepted, but not really a strong part of it, like most other kids were, due to their birthright or how they grew up. So it was a question that I was confronted with for a long time in my life, and it popped up over and over again, and in particular when Rob passed. So I remember that question because so many people reached out to me and asked me, so are you moving back to Austria now? And I thought, why would I do that? Just because I was born there. I always felt like I was born on the wrong side of this planet anyway, so why would I move back to where I never felt I belonged, when for the first time in my life I actually felt that I belonged when I came to Australia. This country has really gifted me this strong sense of belonging. I truly feel like this beautiful song, I still call Australia my home. It triggers a lot in me. It triggers, this is my home, this is where I belong. Yet when somebody who's so close to you and who's such a big part of that sense of belonging passes away, naturally it triggers that question again for you. And although it was actually quite clear to me from the very first moment that I didn't even consider moving back to Austria, it was um, still a question, and it still showed up for me because I just felt like, so where do I belong now? Now that Rob is gone, he was a big part of that belonging. I felt that I belonged with him. Our family gave me that sense of belonging. That's where we had created our home, I think that word home and belonging are very related, are very much working hand in hand with each other, and not having had that anymore was really putting a lot for me into question. And I can see and read and hear and feel that question a lot in our group as well, that people have lost their sense of belonging when their beloved partner has passed. So I'm going to share with you what I did for me to recreate that. I did a lot of inner child work because this is where my question for me originated. So what I'm suggesting is for you to look at, where does your question originate? Did it start in early childhood like it did for me, or did it only start, only under quotation marks, after your partner has passed? I want you to really look at what actually triggered this question for you in the first place. Really look at the origin of it, not when it was re-triggered. And if that is earlier on in life, then there might be the need for some childhood, some inner child work for you as well. And I want you to just look at that with an open heart and an open mind and really feel into it, touch base with yourself. And that is the the key point here, the touching base with your inner self. Apart from a lot of inner child work, I did a lot of work around my core, my coming home to myself, my finding my inner balance, creating that feeling of home and the sense of belonging within me. That was so important because with that, I could also offer that sense of belonging, that sense of home, that sense of being held and being looked after and cared for and nurtured to my boys and to anyone and everyone around me who I work with. It was important for me to do that work, to do that inner child work and the coming home to self, to be able to offer that to others and to be able to teach that to others. I had another layer of that happening last week, and I'm not really sure how much I have. I haven't mentioned this in here. I don't think I really talk much about this in the group, but I had knee issues for about 2 years, and to the point where I could never walk long distances without having like a stabbing sense of pain in my left knee. And sometimes it would swell up a little bit, and I had to ice it, but it was never anything that would completely put me out of order, so to say. Um, but it was intense enough to cause me ongoing pain and repeated pain. And it was not permanent and there all the time, but it would come up over and over again over 2 years. And then my chiropractor talked to me last week, and he said, I know that you're one of my clients that I can talk to like that. Have you ever sat with it? Did you pray on it? Did you look into what is the message there? And I said, you know what? So many times I thought I should, should, yet I never have. Not really, not giving it enough time, not giving it enough attention. So that night I sat in the bathtub, and after I finished with my really hot bath, I let the bath water out, and I was sitting there just drying off, and I loved it. And I put both my hands on my left knee, and I just closed my eyes and I just really connected and I felt into it. And the message was so instant. It really surprised me. The message was that, Marie, since Rob passed, it's like you've been standing on one leg. And I was like, wow, how profound is that? And how simple is the answer? I was just completely out of whack, out of balance, out of inner balance. I was constantly overcompensating and not feeling centered enough. And ever since I've done that last week, I have not had the pain come back, which I find really fascinating. So I have done a lot of work around coming back to center, feeling grounded, feeling balanced. Yesterday I went back to the beach. I did I do a quick laugh or did I show? No, I shared some photos actually, but I went back to the beach and I I had a bit of a cry. It was such a good relief, It was just a release, I should say, and a relief. It was not even, I couldn't see it coming, but it was just so good, Like there were a lot of layers that I hadn't touched base with for a while, that I hadn't looked at for a while, and it all came up while I was sitting at the beach and listening to the perfect music, and I just cried, and it felt so good because it was just such a good cry. I just really, I'm a big believer in when things happen, when things come up for you, to just let them out and allow yourself that space to cry, in particular when you're in such a perfect environment for it. Having your salty tears going back into a salty ocean. I just love that analogy. It's just really beautiful. And I felt really held, and I felt like I was in a really good space sitting down there and allowing that release. So this was my little share about that question, where do I belong? And for me, I belong right here where I am right now. But the biggest thing for me is I belong into the center. I need to be centered, coming back to my center, to my core. And I love that the Latin word for cuore, is your heart. So, really allowing yourself to be in your heart, sit in your heart, make decisions from there. A lot of you have to face, or had to face, big decisions around selling their home, moving interstate, moving countries, moving internationally. And that is where sitting in your heart, being in your core, in your center, comes in really handy, because this is where you make the best decisions from. Coming home to your heart and feeling where you actually belong. And don't be shy if you realize that you had a plan to go somewhere and it doesn't turn out the way you thought it would be, to change your decision. Decisions are not set in stone, nothing is made forever. You can change, you can move. I always think of this beautiful meme, you're not a tree, move. If you don't like something, move, and that to me, it's just really reassuring to know. And I wanted to remind you of that. If there's something coming up in your life that doesn't feel right, look into it, but allow yourself the time to sit with it. Sit with it, go into your heart, make the decisions from there. Allow yourself to feel what is right for you. So many people think they know what is right for us, think they know us well enough. Yet, what a lot of people don't realize is how much we change throughout adversity. And it is time for us, for you, to honor that change, to allow enough space for it, to allow enough energy and time and attention and awareness for it. And all it takes is for us to sit with it, to pause, to stop, and allow ourselves to do that. And if any of you struggles with that and would like some help around that, I'm excellent in holding space for you and to help you along if you want to. So please reach out if you struggle with this question. I am sending you so much love straight from my heart, from my home to yours. This is Marie Alessi signing off. Bye for now.